To come up with this warm, durable, reliable, and very long-lasting roofing material, I spent almost 5 years on preliminary research. The material is highly technological and at the same time easy to make on your own. There is nothing in its composition that you can't buy right away at any hardware store. A roof covered with this material is quiet, non-combustible, and has a service life of more than 50 years. The material is so new that the industry hasn't yet managed to start its production, but it's very easy to make this roofing yourself. This is another very important stage of my ultra-economical construction experiment in creating a compact 2-story house with an area of 50 square meters and a cost equivalent to 1,000 United States dollars. And that's only 100,000 Russian rubles at the time this video was released. So let's go through everything step by step. Hello everyone. Here's what an ultra-cheap roof made of extruded polystyrene covered with just facade paint looks like after 5 years of use. Someone might say it's a disaster, but I'll tell you, no it's not. Birds occasionally peck at the ridge part. The problem is easily solved by simply adding a metal ridge cap. The northern slope gets overgrown with something, but this is a problem for many northern slopes roofs, including those made from very expensive roofing materials. The southern slope is in better condition. White facade paint is the most affordable but also the quickest to show dirt, which may explain the poor color choice. It's like testing a new advanced spacecraft, when what seems like an unsuccessful flight is actually a huge step forward, allowing you to gather invaluable information for reliable operation in the future. Thanks to the experiment, I now know how to make a truly perfect, cheap, very durable, and instantly warm roof. And I'm happy to show you how to do it. Pour yourself about 200 g of tea and let's begin. First, let's do a complete dismantling. Let me remind you that this unusual roof was made from standard sheets of extruded polystyrene foam, glued together into strips equal to the length of the slopes. We glued them to the battens and glued them together. Dismantling is easy and, in its own way, even somewhat pleasant. For extra reliability, wooden bars were added along the joints on top, which were also glued and screwed to the battens with self-tapping screws. The $1,000 construction budget seemed inexhaustible during roof construction, despite extremely economical approaches. That's why I even equipped the roof with attic windows. I made them from sashes of a plastic frame botched by some shoddy window installers, which I bought for next to nothing. Because of such savings, the windows didn't open. We thought we'd clean them from the ground. As you might have guessed, we didn't do this very often. At the time, this roofing only cost me $2.50 per square meter, even with the significantly increased exchange rate. At the time this video was released, that's no more than 250 Russian rubles per square meter, and about 8 of our Belarusian rubles. It's late autumn, and the neighbors, following ancient pagan traditions, are actively driving away evil spirits with acrid smoke. I'm preparing new beams to replace the battens that were damaged by the installation of the attic windows. Having gained some experience with even the most basic attic windows, I want to note, this type of window doesn't fit our East Slavic feng shui. To paraphrase the saying, what's good for a Russian is death for a German. I'll say what's good for a German is a headache for a Belarusian. Only later did I realize that to completely replace the battens, I would also need to unscrew them from the wind braces. The height on the non-balcony side of the terrace makes replacement difficult, so I'm only partially replacing them. Just one batten was enough, which I sawed into 2 pieces. We Slavs have our own excellent options for roof windows. For example, dormers. That's what we should use. Stop bringing these foreign borrowings to us. I realize that the adhesive foam is extremely strong when dismantling it. The main feature of the planned new roof is to cover it with a solid decking. Building the new roof windows will take a lot of time. Let's go back 8 months. It was then, in February, right in the middle of winter, that I started making the elements for the new roof. I bought a pack of Penaplex Comfort, only 3 centimeters thick, and some other things, and on both sides, I made the sheets rough with an old wood saw blade. Pinaplex is easily cut with a regular utility knife. I constantly see rough sheets for sale right away, called Pinaplex wall, but their thickness is 5 centimeters, and I only need 3. I adhered expanded polystyrene sheets into strips lengthwise on the roof slopes using polyurethane construction adhesive foam, ensuring staggered joints. In the conditions of a moderately cluttered standard garage workshop, I was able to work with 3 roof blanks at the same time. Observing the joints glued with adhesive foam in the old roof, I noticed slight water seepage in several places, which I then had to fix. That's why I use a waterproofing mixture for complete sealing of the joints. When the waterproofing set, I cut the plaster mesh into pieces of the required size. Then I used a mixture for gluing and plastering the insulation boards. Regular viewers of the Asha Kosiak Songs channel have long known that Pinaplex itself is completely waterproof. We've seen this more than once during visual experiments. Its water absorption can be neglected since it's less than 0.5%. Since this process can be seen in almost every one of my videos, this time I won't focus on the fact that this kind of work can easily be done without any construction experience, because even children can plaster pieces that are laid out horizontally, and any adult, regardless of gender, will handle this kind of work with ease. I've already mentioned this many times. Plastering Pinaplex with an insulation mix and reinforcing it with fiberglass mesh is called creating a base reinforcing layer in facade work. The only difference is that the work has to be done on vertical surfaces. First, Pinaplex is fixed to the walls that need insulation. Then it is plastered in a similar way, but in a much less convenient vertical position. That's why it's often necessary to hire real plasterers. And dealing with most of them is, in quotes, a real pleasure, and not a cheap one at that. After the mixture set, I turned the blanks over and repeated the waterproofing application on the other side. I also repeated the application of the base reinforcing layer. This time, I checked if it was possible to apply the reinforcing layer on the still wet waterproofing. So to speak, wet on wet. I tested the possibility of speeding up and optimizing the work process. Everything worked out. I hope it will be reliable. When reinforcing the blanks from the other side, they turn into homemade sandwich panels. Their strength increases many times over. Strength of materials, though, the basic reinforcing layer doesn't come off the Pinaplex thanks to the presence of special polymers in the mixtures. Facades insulated in this way have already lasted for decades. So the technology has long been time-tested, and the manufacturer claims that the service life of extruded polystyrene foam is over 50 years. It's convenient to buy Pinaplex and the mixture not all at once for the entire project, but as needed. This way, the strain on the family budget becomes minimal. Since the thickness of the reinforcing layer is just a few millimeters, one bag of the mixture is enough for more than 5 square meters. At the same time, the surface becomes strong enough to withstand the elements and various everyday impacts. Knowing all this, I thought if vertical facades made of plastered Pinaplex are so reliable, then the roof should be even more reliable, because its slopes are much less vertical than the walls, and therefore, the reinforcing layer on it will hold even more securely. Such roofing blanks fully meet the requirements set in my project, House for $1,000. If you have a small room with above freezing temperatures, you can make the roofing elements at any time of the year without rushing. Months passed, and in the middle of autumn, I finally decided to upgrade a decent roof to a super roof. The old roof, which had been slightly pecked by birds, was dismantled, and I brought out the well-seasoned and fully hardened blanks into the light. They were obstructing me in the garage all along. Let me remind you that the main component of the plaster mixes used is cement, and it takes at least 28 days to reach full strength. He had plenty of time. Like insulating facades, you can apply various finishing coatings on the resulting base reinforcing layer. But since the surface turned out to be quite even right away, to save money I decided to just paint them with the cheapest facade paint. At first I planned to paint them under the canopy, but the total area of the blanks is large, and it's too cramped under the canopy, and it's inconvenient to move freshly painted ones. So we laid them out right under the open, late autumn sky. When I was making these new roofing blanks in February, I planned to install them in the second half of March, or at the latest in early April. But the whole saga dragged on for almost a year. When you already have a roof, even if it's not perfect, it's hard to force yourself to make a new one, even if it's much better. The cheapest facade paint doesn't cover very well, so one coat definitely won't be enough. Something was constantly getting in my way. The weather was either a rainy spring and early summer, or an unusual heat wave in midsummer and September. But for some reason, none of this stopped me from making new high warm beds out of Penaplex, a log hive, a new garden path also from Penaplex, and self-leveling walls from it as well. So the issue seems to be with the roofing. Maybe I subconsciously felt that humanity wasn't ready for it yet, but now it is. I'm walking along the innovative blanks and looking forward to starting their installation tomorrow. I apply the second coat of paint at dusk. The forecast predicted no rain, so we chose not to move the newly painted blanks under the small canopy. And we miscalculated badly. The night rain made its own adjustments. The paint, which was still wet, got washed out. Acrylic facade paints are water-based. Once fully polymerized, water doesn't affect them. The rain soaked the panels up until this point. Only one piece was lucky enough to stay under the canopy. I hope everything will be fine, and the paint just needs to be dried a bit. But the dry, warm autumn was replaced by cold, rainy weather. Learn from others, that is, from my mistakes, and don't get caught like this with acrylic paints. They work great in warm, dry weather. We, self-builders, never have enough warm days no matter how many there are in a year. We're always creating some kind of extreme situation for ourselves. What stopped me from redoing the roof back in the summer? Extreme heat is just an excuse. Besides, it's really a simple job. Just start and finish. I considered moving the roofing back into the dry garage, but it had been there for so long that I couldn't bring myself to do it. No matter how we arranged the panels, the painted, overly damp surface just refused to dry. With nothing else to do, I started a fire, but not to speed up the drying process. I just started tidying up the yard. I blame the neighbors, but I can secretly burn something myself too. But I disguise it like I just lit the grill. Finally, the heavens took pity, and the weather got better. While we were drying the roof, we made another tall, warm garden bed out of Penaplex, this time in a round shape. The previous video covers this topic, link below if you missed it. I'm covering the panel that survived the rain with 2 layers of acrylic varnish. If you add colorant to the paint and use tinted varnish, you can give the roof a variety of different colors. White color highlights flaws, cracks, and imperfections effectively, which is necessary for an experiment. The panels that got wet have finally dried, but there's something wrong with the paint. Now it smears. Probably the acrylic washed out. I had to splurge on a 3rd layer of paint. In the new roofing, I decided to upgrade the way the panels are joined together and how they're fixed to the battens. Everything has to be airtight and reliable. Using wooden bars was a cheap solution, but their service life is nowhere near 50 years. And I have at least these kinds of plans for the new roofing material. I turned to a friend for advice. My friend didn't keep me waiting long. As soon as the roofing panels dried, I coated them with 2 layers of clear antiseptic acrylic varnish for stone, concrete, and plaster.
Hi, look, here are some options I came up with for you. You can use a cable duct. It's cheap too, and you can split it. It opens like this, yeah, and you can press it down with this kind of groove.
I think it's a bit weak. Its rigidity is like...
Well, it's an option though.
Plus, I think you could probably pull it out.
But if you just buy it and do nothing at all... Here you go, and I have one like this. An acquaintance of mine who works with sheet metal gave me a bunch of these. It's called a cover strip.
So this is galvanized metal that's been bent.
Any sheet metal.
I think this is fine. Kind of like, right?
Yeah, well, it'll probably be a bit more expensive than a cable duct, but at least it's reliable. It's your decision anyway.
Thank you. Thanks, my friend. Guys, my friend Constantine has come to visit me. YouTube channel Brodex. Brodex, comfortable workwear. We didn't stand on ceremony for long. We bent a bunch of these things. Bent them and bent them. The only problem now is peeling off this film. It takes very little thin metal for these things. The bending process was left off camera.
Oh, my acquaintance, the tinsmith. Bends better. He also presses a groove here.
Well, this is our first time bending this, sorry. And you have an acquaintance who's a tinsmith. The moment of truth is very close, and soon we'll find out if the installation of this roof is really as good as I imagined.
Is that so?
Right now. Are you holding it?
Well, I'm still here.
Hold it. I'm here now. Come on, put it down. Yeah, just don't go there now.
Should I put on a helmet?
Oh, put on your helmet. Yeah, it's good that I wore my helmet. My friend didn't wear his. Apply polyurethane adhesive foam generously to the battens. In one motion, lay the roofing panel precisely in its designated place to prevent the adhesive foam underneath from shifting. Immediately, we use the metal strips. We lay them on top and screw them through the roofing panel to the battens. The homemade metal strips are 2 meters long, so we have to join them together along the length. The adhesive foam sticks well to the battens, but the metal strips guarantee the roof won't be torn off by a hurricane. The previous battened roof survived multiple storms without damage. Regular viewers of the Yesha Koshiak Songs channel likely realize this is my friend Constantine from the Bettina Usadba channel, not Brodex. Many construction bloggers resemble Formula One drivers due to their clothing style, which is covered in various logos. And that's why I made a little joke about my friend. Taking advantage of having my friend nearby in the sunny weather, we're pulling out the unused panels to let them dry. It seems like this is the first roofing material with such effective characteristics that you can easily make yourself. Someone unfamiliar with the topic might ask, what makes it so effective? The point is that with a thickness of just 3 centimeters, Penaplex has thermal characteristics comparable to very dry wooden beams that are 17 centimeters thick. Or like a concrete wall that's over 2 meters thick. And that's no joke. Now we need to seal the joints between the panels. To do this, apply silicone sealant to the horizontal surface of the L-edge. It must completely seal the joint. Apply adhesive foam to the lower vertical surface of the L-edge. It should firmly and securely bond the elements together. Don't skimp on the adhesive for the battens either. Constantine carefully observes my innovations and their testing. After I check them, he implements them on a slightly larger scale and calls himself a pioneer in large format house construction. It's hard to complain since he's a friend with a large family. People in his situation are often sensitive. Constantine has 7 sons. We secure metal strips over the joint between the sheets. This time, we also apply silicone sealant to them. I'll show exactly how we do this in a calmer setting a bit later. For now, we're excited about the innovations. But on the contrary, I'm glad that the number of people wanting to experiment with ultra-cheap construction methods is constantly growing. No matter who tries to take all the credit, I want this technology to become widely accessible to everyone.
It's a cool design and it's cheap. It even looks reliable. No, it's really cool. It's good that I suggested the cover strips to you, right?
Even a woodpecker would break its beak on the new roofing material, and I even splurged on a real metal ridge cap. we've discovered that the installation process is actually quite simple. Constantine left to think about how to do the same thing at his place. After that, my wife and younger son helped me. To quickly press the roofing blank to the batten at the joint, you can use a temporary wooden bar. If you hesitate and don't press it down firmly, the fast-setting adhesive foam might prevent adjustments later. When the adhesive foam has set, I unscrew the temporary bar, then glue and screw on the permanent metal strips. The main thing here is not to miss by much, and to fix them right in the center of the joint seam. As I mentioned at the beginning, during the experimental use of the first ultra-cheap roof made from painted, extruded polystyrene foam, very important experimental data was collected. Based on this, I am now 99% sure that everything should be great with this roof. Any flaws will be very minor. One of the most important parameters obtained was the verification that extruded polystyrene foam remains completely stable when heated and cooled and does not change its geometric dimensions at all. Many comments on the video about the first roof version mentioned instability and potential critical deformation. So, they were written completely at random without any basis. So comrades, don't write warnings about things you're not completely sure are dangerous. They might just confuse someone who is less confident in their own correctness. My wife decided to show off the late autumn radish harvest from one of our very warm garden beds. The initial extruded polystyrene foam roof version I disassembled is still quite usable. It's a great temporary option for quick, cheap, and reliable protection from precipitation. The dismantled material will definitely come in handy for me again. I might use it to make another set of warm garden beds. With a roof like this, it's as if we're going back to long forgotten, but in their own way, wonderful old times. In the past, anyone could first make their own roofing material and then cover the roof with it themselves. Remember the wooden roofs made of shingles, shakes, and shindel, and after all, made of reed and straw? Nowadays, on one hand, industry has made us relaxed and spoiled, since almost any roofing can be bought ready-made. On the other hand, we've fallen into the clutches of capitalists. This is how I apply the silicone. To make everything easier, we made the bends in the planks wider. In the past, everyone could afford their own house, but now things are very different. Even with loans, not everyone manages to do it. I really hope that the ultra-cheap construction technology being developed in my project, House for $1,000, will be able to change everything. I apply silicone sealant to this surface and polyurethane adhesive foam to this one. This kind of roofing is great for installing with the whole family. My wife and younger son handle it perfectly, both together and separately. Regular viewers know that I'm just an ordinary amateur, not a builder. I'm sure that to get a small house of your own, you don't need experience or significant funds. To make sure the screws hit the bars and battens accurately, I made slats and templates and used them to pre-drill the holes. The general installation plan is as follows. We bring in and clamp the next roofing strip to the slope with clamps. Then I apply silicone to the joint and to the metal strips. After that, I apply adhesive foam to the joint and to the batten. We lay the roofing panel. We temporarily fix the near edge with clamps through wooden blocks. I screw in the metal strips. If in hot weather you need to hurry with all this, then in cool autumn weather there's no need to rush. Both the adhesive foam and the silicone cure slowly. Sealing the joint with silicone, followed by using a metal strip screwed on top of the silicone, provides double reliability for the joint's tightness. This connection could have been even simpler if the construction industry had taken on the production of such panels. But the price of such industrial products could skyrocket right away. They'll definitely make a good profit off of us. And you can forget about low production costs then. Manufacturers of high-tech building materials don't work at a loss. Industrial production allows for shaping extruded polystyrene foam cores into any desired form, such as elements resembling standing seam roofing. Then, during the installation, glue alone will be enough. No additional sealing will be required. There's only one last element left that needs to be trimmed to width. An angle grinder with a stone-cutting disc cuts through this homemade super material perfectly. Friends, the channel songs of Yasha Kosyak has been nominated for the Best Do-It-Yourself Blogger Award of 2024 in the construction category, which basically means Best Handyman. Online voting is open until the end of November. If you support cheap and effective construction solutions, I would be very happy if you vote for our shared ideas. The voting link is below the video. You can also support the channel financially through the sponsor button on YouTube. Viewers from Russia can do this through the Boosty service. The link is also below the video. Subscribing, liking, and commenting constructively are equally important. Thank you. Everything is great, and all that's left is to trim the bottom of the slope. First, I check the level with a laser level, then I double-check the old-fashioned way with a string, and only after that do I trim. This time, I use an electric jigsaw with a blade I don't mind ruining. A bit more fiddling around, and I rigged up a metal guard for the unprotected lower edge, set it on silicone, and screwed it in place. It will also serve as a drip edge. Overall, I think it turned out pretty well. Don't forget to vote, also hit the bell, and then I'll definitely keep you informed. Let there be peace worldwide. Thank you.